we are introduced to a star boxer named Yong in the opening scene. He is close to turning 17, but he is already a popular and prominent name in the national-level boxing tournament. Yong is so excited to return home one night after a great win. His mother and his younger sister are in the preparation of a surprise and are already excitedly growing impatient about him returning to see it. However, as soon as he gets home, Yong finds his mother and younger sister lying in a pool of their own blood. Someone launches an attack on him from behind and attempts to kill him, but due to his good skills in fighting, Yong kicks him out, launches his anger on him, and beats him to death. The scene is taken to 2 years later in high school, where some people are listening to the news about Yong's imprisonment. The people he killed are robbers, but being that he used his boxing skills on them, it is no longer considered self-defense, but an attack. Hence, the 17-year-old Yong was charged for murder and imprisoned. A very child and timid student named Soo Bin sits in front of the class. He was a victim of bullying in his previous school and thus resulted in his social anxiety. However, he has managed to make a few new friends since he came into this school, and he is gradually getting his life back on track. The teacher arrives at the class and introduces a new student named Tony. Tony was a boxer and also the bully who terrorized Soo Bin in his previous school. At the sight of Tony, Soo Bin trembles greatly out of fear. He is beginning to recall all the dying memories of Tony. In the absence of the teacher, Tony beats up all previous bullies to assert his authority. He also says hi to Soo Bin and begins hitting him for no reason. A girl tries to rescue Soo Bin and pushes Tony away from him. In return, Tony messed her face with a slap. For the first time in his life, Soo Bin stops Tony, begging him to leave the girl alone, and immediately he regrets it as Tony is now in to deal with him. In self-defense, Soo Bin picks up a shorthand knife from the ground and points it at Tony. Tony dares him to use it, and to the surprise of everyone and even himself, Soo Bin stabbed Tony in the eye. The next scene shows Soo Bin in court being accused of attempted murder, and because of his timidity and inability to speak up against the bully, he was declared guilty and sent to prison to serve a 2-year term. The young boy was arrested after that and was made to board a bus full of Yong criminals. Luckily, he sits beside Yong and gets on his good side. Later in the day, all the newcomers are assigned to their respective cells. Soo Bin becomes friends with Min, a burglar. They are assigned to the same cell where a guy explains the hierarchy of the inmates. There are 3 leading inmates, Jun, Akio, and Han. Jun is a good guy and only tried to stop Akio and Han from beating up other inmates for no reason, but recently, Akio and Han teamed up against him and beat him, causing him to be locked in a solitary cell. Ever since then, they have become the rulers of the prison, issuing out orders to other inmates anyhow and beating up anyone they feel like beating. Yong, however, remains the main dog of the prison, still with everyone respecting him. He always minds his business, and unless provoked, he does not fight with anyone in the prison. Among the prisoners, he is the best boxer, and this is why even Akio and Han fear him. On their first day at the prison, Min and Soo Bin were watching a football match between Akio, Han, and their teams. When 2 players got injured, Han asked Min and Soo Bin to join the game. They did not want to get into any trouble, so they helplessly joined him in the field. In the match, Han's team slacks because Soo Bin hardly moves. Scared of receiving any punishment, he closes his eyes and kicks the ball, but mistakenly, he kicks Akio right in his balls. The bully is forced to the ground as he writhes in pain, and he is furious. After his recovery, Akio and his men pull Soo Bin to a separate place, and this clearly reminds Soo Bin of a similar situation that occurred to him in his former school. He trembles in fear, begs and cries for help, all to no avail. Suddenly, Yong passes around and they act like everything's alright. This makes Soo Bin realize how scared the bullies are of Yong. As their grip loosens, Soo Bin runs in one breath to Yong, seizes his legs, and pleads for Yong's help. Most of the time, Yong prefers to mind his own business, but because Soo Bin begged for help, he decided to help him. As Akio tried to attack, he was brought down to the ground with a single punch. Soo Bin is left shocked, and he has never seen someone so fierce and fearless. The inmates are also schooled in the prison, and even while in class, Akio never takes his gaze off Soo Bin and is determined to deal with him since he cannot challenge Yong. Just then, Soo Bin had a visitor and the guard asked him to come see his visitor. The visitor is Tony. He has completely lost vision in the eye where he was stabbed, which almost ended his boxing career. Also, he was suspended from school and now roams the streets with nothing. He lays all the blame for this on Soo Bin and cannot wait for Soo Bin to leave the prison. Soo Bin, on his own side, keeps begging an adamant Tony and asking for his forgiveness. Tony is hell-bent on killing him. The next day, Soo Bin sees Yong training outside through the window. This makes him acknowledge that he has just 2 years to train if he must avert being killed by Tony. During recess, Soo Bin goes to Yong and begs him to teach him how to defend himself. Yong refuses at first, afraid that after he might have trained Soo Bin, he might turn out to be another bully just like the others, but Soo Bin explains to Yong about his tiredness of always being the victim. He has reached his breaking point and cannot afford to run from his fears anymore. It is time to face them. From the comment, Yong realizes that Soo Bin is just a helpless child. Having known what it feels like being on the receiving end, he will not misuse his strength into bullying others. To test his endurance, Yong asks him to run 100 laps in 40 minutes. The training will only commence if he is able to do that. Determined to do so, Soo Bin starts running, and even though he is not used to it, he still doesn't lose his pace. In the course of the run, Soo Bin recalled how he was humiliated, beaten, and insulted by Tony and his group. He was so scared that he always peed in his pants as they beat him up. The thought of finding himself in such a situation again serves as a motivation for him to keep running. In his last few laps, Soo Bin is gassed out. Yong sees that and asks him to stop. Soo Bin refuses and completes his laps, screaming his frustration out and collapsing right after forcing Yong to quickly come to his aid. Yong now understands how much Soo Bin needs this help, and so he talks to the warden of the prison to shift Soo Bin to his cell. The prison warden is a huge fan of Yong from all his boxing matches, and also knows that he is not a bad person, hence, he moved Soo Bin to Yong's cell. In the next scene, Yong gets Soo Bin ready for the first day of training. He asks him to do a few push-ups. Soo Bin is so bad with the push-ups that Yong has to sign. Yong acknowledges that he has to apply much patience in dealing with the boy. On the other hand, Akio is also seen training and preparing himself for the day when he will get his hands on Soo Bin when he is not with his new boxer bodyguard. Akio's boys suggest that they should target Min, who used to be friends with Soo Bin, and if Min can lure Soo Bin out, then they can have their way with him. The scene opens to where Yong is disappointed with Soo Bin's pull-up. Yong asks him how he manages to live in such a weak body. In turn, Soo Bin claims he is too tired and needs to sleep. This does not sit well with Yong, as he questioned if he had made a mistake agreeing to teach him in the first place. He pointed out to Soo Bin that if he chooses the easy way out, he will be sent back to his cell. This reminds Soo Bin of his reason for training in the first place, and he continues. To know what happened in the rest of the movie, watch the second part in this channel also. Thank you.